Hey, and welcome to day 29 of my 31-day challenge. We're nearly there, 2 days to go. Actually, we're going to go to day 32 because I misjudged the dates when I booked all my guests for this week. But there we go. Today, most of the time this week, I've been talking to people who are very, very new, even newer than me, to live streaming. Today, that's completely reversed because my guest is not just new to it. He's probably one of the gurus of live stream video. In fact, he's just produced a book on Amazon, which we're going to look at and talk about, called Best Guide to Live Stream Video Broadcasting. So please welcome my guest, Leland Best, who is with me today, all the way from, it's Michigan, isn't it? You're
Yes, I'm located. Yep. Hello, Rikki. It's a pleasure to be here and be with you on the show today. I am located over in a little town on a river known as the Shiawassee River here in Michigan in the USA.
Right, so that's, that gets quite cold up there, doesn't it, when you get to the winter?
Yeah, it's starting to cool off. We're in the 70s right now, but come January, February, we get in the below zero temperatures.
Yeah.
So.
But at least you've missed the storms and the problems in the south.
Yeah, we don't get hurricanes, but we get tornadoes in this area. So thankfully, and my heart goes out to all those folks. I have a lot of friends.
Oh, just frightening. I've got a lot of friends in the south there, and really quite frightening just looking at what's going on. I mean, we've had some pretty bad weather here in the UK. For our summer has been very wet. But I look at what's going on in Houston and then in Florida and think, okay, we got away with it.
Yeah.
So, live stream video. You're sort of establishing yourself as one of these sort of gurus of this. I've seen you speaking to Stephen Healy and talking to Lottie Hearn and others. So, how did you get into the whole area of live stream so early? And what's the background of that?
It goes back a ways. It actually takes me all the way back to high school, Rikki. When I was a junior and senior in high school, I was in a radio and television class that got us onto a lot of the older television equipment of the day. And we did everything from, I played parts as mic grip, key grip, studio hand, production director, talent, you name it. We did it all because we had to broadcast to the alumni at the school. And when I left that, I got involved in public access to a local cable company. And that was like the time of beta tapes, but not before VHS. So we was doing a lot of studio training there. So I do have a producer's license from local cable television network. But then I separated from that for quite a while and ran a 25-year civil engineering career as a CAD designer. And then it was around 2006, I became a karaoke DJ for 3 years as a guy who bounced around as a digital DJ and went to either events or local pubs and things of that nature. And then it was about 2012 when Google Hangouts came out, or Hangouts on Air actually was the big thing, that a lot of us jumped into the whole live stream bandwagon and took it from there. So it's been a pretty steady 5 years since I got as tight into the network internet broadcasting as I have recently.
So live streaming really is still only really 5 years old in terms of the sort of consumer access to it.
Actually, you'll find in my book that live streaming has been around for over 10 years in regard to its origination. It actually originated back in 1993, where GarageBand popped on the internet and used about half the bandwidth on the internet at that time to do the world's first live broadcast. And there were others. There were symphony orchestras that were starting to broadcast. The first American Football League was broadcast onto, I think it was the actual American Baseball League was broadcast onto the internet for the very first time on that same year. So it's been about 12 years now that this is, or I should say 22 years total, that this has been in existence. But it was until the system, the bandwidth and the speed and the ability for the computers to keep up, that we actually have this real-time communication. If you remember back in 2012, Hangouts on Air still had like a 1 minute delay in the processing time. So you would broadcast and say stuff, but you had to go, can you hear me now? Or is everybody getting this? And now it's real time where we can speak one-on-one and it's almost instant communication, which is just amazing.
But yeah, I know that my internet connection now here is on a bad day is running at sort of 50, 60 megabits, where I still have. I was just sorting out a lockup the other day and pulled out my very first portable Office, which ran on a 9. Oh God, it was a. It was circa 1995, I think, which had a dial-up modem connected to it in order to send print around.
Yeah.
And when I look at my phone now, that is so much more capable. But yeah, I mean, it's the speed with which we can do things. And I think, it's really only the last couple of years that we started to see tools like, BeLive that I'm using now.
Yeah.
I mean, I can literally run a show and put lower thirds in and bring guests in and out, and all of that. I just think is really cool. And it still shocks me when I look around at the number of particularly professional speakers who just aren't using live stream at all.
I know. I'm really surprised myself. I think not many people understand the term live streaming. That's one of the things that we've noticed as a little bit of a caveat in this industry is you can go to anybody and say, well, what do you do? And it's, well, I'm a live streamer. And they look at you kind of oddly like, what is that? And they just don't get it. So there's obviously a big door that needs to be open to the public to say, look, if you want to have your very own broadcasting station or your very own television show, almost in real regards is what we have here, then be a live streamer. And maybe it'll change. Podcasting was the premise to all of this, obviously, because audio came first. And now we're looking at video. So podcasting's been around for decades. I mean, that's something that just.
So do you think that we're going to see? I mean, I had been looking at creating a podcast, but now with this, I'm thinking, no, I'm probably not going to bother, because what I will do is to do live stream broadcasts. If I need to do a podcast, I can separate the audio and just pop that into use that as a podcast file. But I think the first person I saw this as an Australian guy, Tim Cooper, I think is. When Blab came out, suddenly stopped doing podcasting and started doing blabs, and then he just used the audio file for his podcast. And I thought, well, that makes a lot more sense.
And that's what most people are doing. They're simply downloading the video playback, and then they strip the audio and they upload it either into the cloud somewhere on a sound site or right up into I can't even think of the word for the iPad, the platform there, iTunes.
iTunes, yeah.
I'm not an Apple user and I'm not a podcaster. Those kind of things just kind of blow right past me nowadays. Most of my stuff is done on Spreaker if I do any podcast work, but there's so many different places out there now that you can podcast to that it's really a matter of choice and cost and availability.
So why do you use Spreaker? I've got it, but I haven't really used it.
I like the layout and the format, and I'm only using the free version right now because, again, I'm not a podcaster. I'm more of a video broadcaster. And until I can actually take the time to sit down and work out all the nuances of the RSS feeds that you really have to create for podcasting in order to succeed in that avenue, it's just something I haven't had time to really delve into yet. So I'm working on it. At some point or another, I'll consider myself a video/podcast. I've got to that point.
So Spreaker's pretty easy to use if
Just add some descriptions and some images, and it'll also allow you to exert some pull some code out of the site that you can drop on your website and have players just like you see on most professional podcasting sites with the description of the podcast, the little wave bar that goes across where you hit the play button and stuff. So it not only has its own features on site, but it allows you to embed all of that into a website if you have a blog or anything like that.
All right, because a lot of people I know have been using SoundCloud, but I've been hearing lots and lots of uncomfortable stuff around SoundCloud as to whether it's even going to survive at the moment.
That's true. I mean, the recommendation, I would say Spreaker, Podbean. There is a free one, but I can't recall the name of it off the top of my head. It just came out recently, but it's a very stripped down version of a podcast platform. So those are other avenues that you can look into.
Yeah, I have friends using LipSing as well as the main.
Oh, okay. And that might be one. Ping something.
LipSing's the one that's been around as the big podcast platform for years, but again, what I'm looking at is that it looks to me as if video is actually a better medium. It's an easier medium to use, and Yeah, and I'm just finding. Well, I think my challenge was that I had this really, really big struggle with just talking to a camera. Now you obviously got past that because you were broadcasting and being a radio broadcaster.
Don't let me fool you, Rikki. Even though I've been doing this for several years, me and the eye contact with the camera are still, and the reason for that mostly. Well, everybody has an ego. Everybody likes to see what they look like on camera when they're out here on live video, and they tend to eyeball over to wherever their face is located so they can see how they look. That's just nature, or human nature. But the thing that I struggle with the most is, as a producer who does a lot of the video switching and formatting and production work as a director on the back end, my eyes are always on other buttons. I have two monitors here in front of me. So, and my system that you see behind me, this is a green screen. Okay.
Right.
That's what's back there actually, but that's pretty much what my studio looks like. I have the twin LCD monitors and a laptop sitting here with a mic and such, but it's the getting used to being able to pull all these bells and whistles and still look at the camera. So like right now, I was looking at me, and I should be up here talking to you. So
it's so easy because you talk to the person who you can see. I've Lottie's the one who's been coaching me. Look at the camera. Look at the cameras.
Good at. I like Lottie. She's just a fantastic personality, and I love her to death.
So, what do you use? I'm interested now that you've got a green screen there, because I'm looking at the possibility of doing something, either putting your backdrop in here or using green screen. That'll be a bit of a problem because a lot of my clothes are green, so I have to not use those.
Right.
But so do you use something like Manycams to?
Actually, I use the program known as vMix. So like here, I can simply switch over to, and you see the little wrinkles in my green screen when it flares up. I have some virtual sets in the background that I can use when I want. This is just an image that I use behind me. I can actually bring my desktop if I wanted to behind me, or shrink myself down into a corner if I wanted to. As another individual, I can turn both of these off if I want to and show up down here. You probably can't see me right now, but that's okay.
Yeah.
That was because I shredded off into the background there for a moment. But
so what's the product you're using?
It's called vMix, and you can find it for free, actually. It's a live stream software application. Go to vmix.com or vmixhd.com. Either one works. They have just released version 20 of the software, which is a very high-end production software suite. But it ranges from free all the way to $1,200 for the entire 4K Pro package that a broadcaster would use in professional work. But you get a free trial of that for 2 months just by downloading the file to see all the features that come with it. And then after that, it reverts to a basic free program that doesn't really cost anything, but it reduces the video quality to just below 720p. It's like a 576 format. So it's above standard definition television, but just below high definition television. So it's a great product for somebody who loves to tweak things and is technically inclined to go do all this transference of windows and scenes and button pushing and audio mixing and things like that. And then there's probably 6 others that people could use, like Manycam or VidPlaster X, and they're all in my book. I have 7 of them that I review as an overview. And then there's about 7 websites similar to BeLive, like we're using now. I'm actually the community manager over at vidpresso.com, which is a new endeavor I've taken on recently. It's a small team of individuals from network television who have created an on-site live streaming platform that is bar none. I mean, it compares with a lot of the features here at BeLive. But
this is VidPresso.
VidPresso.com, VidPresso.com. And we have a Facebook group open if anybody's interested in taking the test drive or coming to see what we have available. But again, there are another 6 of those, like BeLive and Lightstream, and I could name several others that will broadcast to Facebook Live. Some broadcast to other stations like YouTube, Twitch, Mixer. One, for instance, that's a really in high demand right now is GoLightstream.com, which is currently free. They intend on charging, but they were some very high-profile gamers in the gaming industry that came out and decided to, and along with one who used to work on OBS, which is open broadcasting software, or open broadcaster software, which has been around for years. And it's for the technically inclined.
I'm going to say, I had a look at it and thought, okay, I'll leave that for now.
But Lightstream is pretty slick as well, and they have features that a lot of others don't, but they will charge at some point. I just interviewed Stu Grubbs, the CEO of Lightstream, the other day. Actually, it was last week, I believe, on Tuesday after the holiday here in the States. And he had a lot of good things to say. I see a lot of good things coming out of their team over there as well. So it's just a matter of choice and preference to decide where you want to stream, how you want to stream, what fits you personally, what you're most comfortable with as far as button pushing, scene arrangement, and things like that.
My background is as a speaker, so I'm now looking and thinking, well, how do we take what I do live on the stage and everywhere else and start to deliver that online? I think a lot of people, Udemy has been an incredible success story in terms of getting online courses together, but most of it has ended up just being talking heads.
Yeah,
people just go up, they talk, say something, that's it, and you're paying £200 or £200, sorry, $200 just to listen to somebody talking to something which probably could have all been written down in a mini book.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm trying to find how do I use combinations of live streaming, of Zoom or other things to create a mix of different medium, which means that when you engage in a course, you've got maybe a private group on Facebook, which you can also join, and there's live streaming to that. You can then go and join the discussion forum to talk about some of the things that you've actually learned on the course to get upgrades. So how do you make the whole experience of learning online into a much more interactive process? So that's really what I'm looking to try and achieve as a speaker.
And that's a wonderful idea, because I'm actually going to take the book that contains 12 chapters. It's about a 160-page book currently, and I will continue to update that book as we go along. But I'm going to break that down into chapters and probably put that on Udemy or Thinkific and do about 6 hours at least of video, like a half hour per chapter, to go into deep detail on what I discuss in the book, but to actually show people how to apply the principles I've learned over the years when it comes to streaming, and some of the ways to build community and also to produce a show. So it does come down to a lot of little things that create this live streaming experience. It's not simply come out and talk to people. It's about getting that connection made with your followers, because obviously all of us out here want to have a following that are there for us if we're building a business anyway. And want to connect with those followers so they know who we are. The biggest thing about live streaming is the fact that as maybe a corporate CEO or a manager of a business, you can actually come out and let your customers see who you are personally. And I think one of the problems we're seeing, or one of the reasons we don't see a lot of marketers properly using live streaming, is because they can't simply open up and be themselves. They always want to try to sell them as something maybe they're not, or they're trying to use a persona that represents a brand versus the person behind the brand. And I think the biggest success is found when people come out here to stream as an individual, as a human person that has just as many faults and issues with life as the rest of us do, and simply speaks to those who enjoy their product or their service and get to know them on a one-on-one basis and bring them into the broadcast themselves so that they can participate with their customers.
I think that was the thing I really had to overcome, because I was the first attempt at trying to put videos together. I just couldn't even get a 5-minute video together, because every time I think, oh no, that's wrong, I'll do that again. I'll do that again. Oh no, I'll do that again. No, I'll repeat this. And I was just constantly I tried. I thought, let me try and put up a script and teleprompter and do it that way. And it was only when I started doing live streaming and going live, when you really can't do that. You just got to go for it. And then you think, oh, okay, if I made a mistake, well, fine, I made a mistake. Just get over it.
And you touch on a really good point, Rikki, because when I was doing strictly video recorded production, I would tell people just what you said, which is go out there, do a record, and ignore your faults. Just come out, record. If you don't like it, delete it. Do it again. If you don't like it, delete it. Do it again, and continue. And forget about all those other videos that you made, and just try to get it right on one take if you can. But that's where live streaming pushes you into that window of opportunity to do just that. You can come out here live. It's a little tricky at first. A lot of people are so intimidated by the idea of getting on camera and having to speak to people. Yes. Like, I have to say the right things. No, you just need to be yourself. You just need to come out and talk. Like, I'm talking to you as a friend, Rikki. I'm not talking to you as a constituent, as a customer, or anything like that. So that's what matters most.
I think this is it. It's about the human personality coming through, because that's, you can't hide that after a while. You just become you. And I think, I mean, I would recommend to anybody doing any live streaming to do the 31-day challenge. I think it's David Vaughan who started the whole thing off. And several people, you know, Jen, I saw Jen Nelson was doing it, and a few others. I thought, I'm going to have to do this. This just sounds, and I find it really, really nerve-wracking the first few days. But after a while, it just let go. And I've actually got used to seeing myself on video and thinking, oh, maybe I'm not so bad.
You ease into it. It's something that comes naturally once you understand the real principle behind it. But it's just like picking up a telephone. And it's just, imagine you're in the Jetson era. You know, we're not on just telephones anymore. We're simply using video along with it.
Yeah. I've noticed now that since I've been doing this, I'm actually more inclined to video call people now than actually phone them or text them, because I'd rather just have that engagement, because it's like, you know, I mean, I know you're 4,000 miles away, but you know, you could just be in the next room.
Yeah, I use a site known as Appearin, or Appear. Yep. And it's one of the most stable platforms out there. It was actually constructed by a company on your side of the pond, which is trying to get out of telephony completely with the old cables running across telephone poles and into video conversation. And this is what they're providing, is a video conversation platform, and they're making it more stable every day. I use that for every communication that I do here in the States. I get connected with Milan, Pakistan, the UK all the time. I'm around the world on that thing, and it's my go-to place to meet people.
Absolutely. Well, and the advantage of Appearin is it doesn't require, I mean, Zoom is great for meetings and breakout rooms, but it requires a piece of software installed on the computer. I do a lot of work with public sector. Their IT departments, absolutely no way are they going to allow anybody who works for them to install any software or any piece of machinery without their permission. So, and that's reasonable, because you know they keep getting hacked, and there's all sorts of people trying to attack them. So they have to be cautious. So I could see where Appearin is a really good tool. I'm using it quite a lot now. So
it works very well.
What do you, if somebody's starting on live streaming? What do you think is the basic kit that they need to set up a reasonably professional looking show?
Oh, to get set up, it's actually rather. If you're talking cost or
just basic kit. If somebody's thinking about starting this up, don't know where it's going to go, so they don't want to invest a huge amount of money until they know. That was my sense. I thought there's no point in buying £3,000 cameras and things. If
oh, absolutely not. No, what I try to, and I actually work on that budget principle for myself and my customers, because it comes down to the fact that, and you grow over time if you're really into it. If this is something you want to take on as a hobby because it's something you want to do, you can certainly dump as much money as you want into it. But if you're somebody that's starting a new business and wants to get involved, first thing you have to do, obviously, is pick a niche to get involved in. And then it's a matter of who you're going to stream to. So as far as equipment goes, myself here, I have a PC desktop computer. I've invested maybe $400 in. Okay. It's an older machine, actually. It runs a 6-core processor. So one thing I try to get people to stay away from are the older 2-core laptops. And when I say that, I know it seems technical, but they're still for sale. Okay, they're the cheaper budget brand laptops that you find. And some of the PCs running on Celeron, you hear the word Intel Celeron a lot. Those processors are typically 2-core processors. It's sometimes difficult for those CPUs to maintain the video processing that we do on sites like this. So I always recommend people try to find at least a 4-core or better processor, which may cost them a few $100s. Then it's a matter of I recommend always a couple of LCD monitors. They don't have to be big. Mine are 21-inch monitors. They're nothing huge, but I see people doing, 40-inch television screens, and that to me is just kind of overkill. A half-decent video card, something that you can go out and spend anywhere from $50 to $800 now, $1,000 for upper class video cards. Gamers are specifically using the high-end cards. We don't need that. I have a card that's probably 3 years old, 4 years old, that I bought brand new online for $50, and it works just fine. A couple gig of memory on the card.
So have you pretty much built your own PC for this then?
Oh yeah, yeah. And I teach you how to do that in the book. That's my primary focus at the beginning of the book, is to be able to evaluate what hardware you have currently, and then I assign those little things you need to look into, which are the memory, the CPU, the amount of processing power your video card has, and also the power supply is something that people don't think about. Older computers would run on what's the word I'm looking for, a 250 watt power supply. Nowadays, a lot of the newer computers, especially gaming machines, go as high as 750 watts. That's like a small microwave oven running under your feet. Okay. So when it comes to the cameras, I use a Logitech C920, which is a 1080p high definition camera that's a plug USB device. Costs $60 on Amazon. And it's been a workhorse for 4 years in the industry. And they've just now recently upgraded to a 922X, which has some other built-in features like built-in green screen features. And there is a Brio version, which is a little more expensive, about $200, which does 4K. So we're not quite into or ready for even 1080p in live streaming when it comes right down to it. Facebook is looking to upgrade to 1080p very shortly. It's currently only at 720. Much less signal bandwidth is required to produce a signal at the regular high-def television signal processing rate than it is to try and do 4K for sure. 4K is going to be incredibly burdensome when it comes to moving files around and uploading to YouTube and things like that. There's talk of 8K. I'm sorry, that's ridiculous in my book. We don't need that yet. So a microphone, $50. If you go out, buy one used if you have to, a nice quality studio mic. Audio is your biggest savior. If you don't have good audio, people will go away. As long as you have good audio, if your video flutters now and then, people will forgive you. But
I'm tending to recommend to people to get one of these, a good old
very nice.
Blue Yeti.
Yeti, yes, absolutely.
I think it's about $100, $150 at the most. And I just found it.
Spend your money on the mic if you're going to do anything. And then, of course, got to have these. If you're a broadcaster of any form, and I put this in specific writing in the book, it's almost disrespectful to the industry if you don't supply the ability. This limits the echo effect on broadcasts. And the reason I say that is when someone that you come, like I came to your show today, and if I came to the show and I didn't wear my headphones and I started to echo during this broadcast, I've destroyed the integrity of your show myself as an unprofessional type of person to come out and do this. So I always recommend for everybody, try and find a decent set of either Bluetooth headphones. I use Bluetooth because they're very free and you don't have to be tied to a cord, or at least have a pair of earbuds on so that you don't ruin the audio. And that's about it, really.
Well, that's something I haven't been doing because I thought my sound was okay, but I shall bear that in mind now. This
is the other thing, lighting. Okay, These are LED bulbs. I get the daylight version LED bulbs. I buy them 4 in a pack for like $20 at Home Depot or wherever you can find them at your local box store. And you can see here I'm lit up pretty well. It helps the green screen work properly, but you can go out and spend whatever you want on lighting. If you want to get into filtering and umbrellas and nuances when it comes to lighting a set, then 3-point lighting, you have to have a key light and a fill light and a backlight up over your head. So there's a lot of things you can do to improve on your broadcasts, but start budget and work your way up as you go.
So you just use ordinary light?
Yeah. I didn't find a need for the big stuff. I work in a very small room. If you saw when I moved my curtain, that's the room. It's like a 10 by 7 room that I broadcast from. So for me to set up tower lights. I would have to mount them to the wall or something of that nature. And you saw it when I just blacked out. See what happens when I cover my lights, what it does to my green screen? Yeah. So that's why lighting's so important if you're going to get into the idea of using chroma key or anything of that nature.
Because I mean, I bought a couple of soft boxes which I just point at the wall. So that's something I learned. Having the lights directly on me just washed me out completely. So
yeah, you want to filter them if you have to. Mine actually have shade covers on them, so if I were to turn up my lighting, this is what happens. Yeah, and you don't want that. You don't want light directly on you. You either want like a clamp-on unit that you can. Sometimes you can just take a white T-shirt and cut it up and use a rubber band and wrap it around the face of the unit, so that it filters the light down a little bit and softens it some, and that helps a lot too.
Excellent. So all of this is in your book. I popped that up now. I'll just put it back up again so we can see that. Available on. Just bring it in. Available on Amazon as an ebook and as a.
Actually, Rikki, it's available on Amazon as a hard copy softcover book. You can pick up the paperback for $24.99, or you can find it on Kindle for $9.99 as an ebook. Right. And that has been reformatted into a 6x9. So the graphics had to be adjusted and centered on the page. They don't allow word wrapping on Kindle because of the scale, the text and such on a Kindle device. But I do have that download, and I actually have a PDF download. If you go to bestliveguide.com, you'll find a page on my bcblive.com website that has all the shopping cart checkouts there, but you can actually download the PDF of the 8.5 by 11 guide, which is the one on Amazon, for half price, which is $12.49.
So this is the bcblive.com, or?
You can find the page for the download right at bestliveguide.com. I have that domain forwarding to my website to the exact shopping cart page where the book's located. Okay. I'd be willing, honestly, Rikki, if we have some people here in the audience, I don't know if there's anybody watching the show currently. If we can find a way to distribute a PDF copy to someone here today, I'd be happy to give away a free copy.
Yeah, I haven't got anybody watching at the moment, so I think there's somebody came and a few people came and went, but it's towards the end of the day. Yeah, so.
How would you like a copy? Because I'd be happy.
I would love a copy.
That works. All right.
So let me just type in the name. It's Best Live
Guide, and that's a .com. It's just a domain I purchased real quick so that I could direct people to the checkout page.
I'm putting that into the chat so that if anybody comes here and the replay, I am getting at least 100 or two people or two coming and actually viewing the afterwards. So there we are, bestliveguide.com. Yep.
And that's another thing we can touch on real quick, Rikki, is the fact that one of the biggest hurdles people have to get over after they get on camera is the fact that just because you're broadcasting on Facebook Live or YouTube doesn't mean people are going to come in on your first show or even your second show or your third show. There's no guarantees to that. And one of the things I try to inform people of all the time is don't just expect to go live on a minute's notice and see viewership. The biggest thing is to promote your show or to be consistent and come out every week on a certain day at a certain time so that people know where you're going to be and when. So that allows them the opportunity to look for you at that time, or in their own head know, oh yeah, Rikki's going to be on at 1 o'clock. I need to go see the show.
Yep.
So don't just come out here, turn on the camera and think that people are going to come watch. You need to promote yourself a little bit after you start up a broadcast platform. And just play around, just enjoy the time that you have learning. I think the discovery aspect of live streaming is part of the biggest part of the fun.
I think this is what I found about the 31-day challenge. It was just, I've had to play around with times. I was trying to keep it consistent, but then life got in the way of that. So trying to keep it every single day at the same time just didn't work. And there have been times, and again, we're trying to arrange interviews with a schedule like every day. I've had to just organize myself around other people's time. So that sometimes it's 1:30, sometimes it's 5:30, sometimes it's 7 o'clock, sometimes it's 10 o'clock in the morning. So it's just been like, moving around. But what I've now got is a plan for how I want to put in shows from next week. So I'm going to start, and that will be a fixed time because I can see that it is quite important. If you want people to actually come and view it, it needs to be a particular time so that they can get there. But I'm also looking now at the stripping out the audio, putting it into a podcast, and all the other things. So just so much. But it's just been such an amazing learning curve, just to get it out there and do it and make all the mistakes and meet people and learn from it. Because there's actually, what I've also found is a really nice live streaming community. And there's quite a few nice live streaming sites, and everybody's welcome. It's like you go to these sites and it's, oh, welcome, come on in, have a go, play, just try. So
it was years ago we didn't really have that. Back when HOA or Hangouts on Air came out with Google's setup, it was a little different. A lot of people got to hang out because you could get 10 people in a room and do your thing. A lot of people used it as a webinar platform and started. There were a lot of softwares. I actually used to distribute a lot of WordPress plugins that would allow you to create webinars systems using Hangouts. And now that's kind of outdated. But when Blab came out, like you mentioned earlier, that was where a lot of these folks who were learning live streaming got to know each other as friends.
Yes.
And it was then that the boom really took off and people started to recognize its ability to be more than just a communication tool, but actually a productive business tool. Yeah. So that's where things changed. And in that process, all of those people who met each other became very good friends because we got to know each other personally. And that is what spurred this whole live streaming movement that says, let us help you learn it. We've done it. We've had to deal with all the beta testing. We've had all the glitches go through us. And now we want to show you how to do it the right way. And that's where we're at now. We're just now having to start bringing in the mass amount of people that should really be using it.
I think one of the things I found also surprising, one of the things I would like to see is an increase in what I'm going to call virtual keynoting. There are times when people, I get, particularly non-profits, can you come and speak at our organization? We've got a little bit of money together. It's $200. Could you come down and speak? And I'm thinking, that won't even cover my expenses. I can't do that. But I want to help your organizations. But, unless you've got, $500 or so, I can't do it because, it's going to a whole day traveling and everything else. But if people say, well, could you do it virtually? Well, yes, I could. But I don't think the meeting planners and organizers have yet got into the mentality of how do I set things up so that actually I can have a speaker up on the screen. But I mean, 9 times out of 10, when I do a big conference, I'm up on screen because that's the only way anyone can see me anyway.
True. It is taking a turn, I think, Rikki. We're finding that there are a lot of folks that I know currently who are business people who are running summits with many broadcasters at once, where they actually continue a streaming process for hours on end. Yeah. And they just keep adding a new speaker as each movement goes by. And it is much less of a hassle. We don't have to carry around equipment. We don't have to bring ourselves to the stage. We don't have to drive hundreds of miles to get to the event, things of that nature. And it's just going to be a little bit of time, I think. And obviously there are still areas and locales that don't have the bandwidth required to do these big summit events. So it's really a matter of reach and availability to some people. And go ahead. One
of the lessons we've learned with hotels is you have to make sure if you are live streaming, and this is something I was talking to Lottie about, sometimes the hotel just lets you have their standard hotel Wi-Fi. And then everybody in the hotel is also using the same Wi-Fi. So that it all goes wrong. So you have to, when you book a meeting room, if you're going to have a live a live stream speaker, get a dedicated Wi-Fi into your conference room.
If not Wi-Fi, find the nearest way that you can, because a lot of hotels actually have hardwired connections as well. Yeah. So really not much of a reason that some people couldn't set up a presentation machine on a table connected to an actual wired system and then broadcast that out via some type of LED projector onto a screen so that people could sit in a lobby or sit in a conference room at a hotel and have 10 speakers broadcast in, for the course of the day.
Yep, there's a lot to go. Right, I'm going to bring this to a close now because we've done 45
minutes. An hour. We're already approaching 45
minutes. Yes. Just been so interesting. Okay, Leland has been absolutely brilliant. I'm going to put a couple of sites up here that people do know. There's bcblive.com. Is that your main site?
Yes,
so
Yep, BCB Live is set up as the best place for live streaming, online streamers anyway, to come for the resources that they need. I have listed in just the menu section alone all of the online sites, software, video conferencing platforms, hardware, software. Anything you need is simply a pull down away, and I'm currently building out more reviews on that site. There's not much content on it currently, but you can find all my live streams out there, at least where I live stream. I haven't been putting all my recorded streams up there at all yet, but that's in process, so we're working on that.
And I know you've got a YouTube channel as well. I didn't put that up here, but I've spotted your Facebook Best Live Guide Facebook page. So so I will try and make sure I put that into the
thanks. Yeah, you can find the Facebook page for anyone that's interested in the book itself or wants to hang out and see its progression as it moves along. It's at Best Live Guide on Facebook and at Best Live Guide over on Twitter, #Best Live Guide.
On Twitter as well. Okay, so they're going to find it all over the place. So I've put a couple of links in here so that people can find that. This has been absolutely excellent. There's so much to learn, but there's so much is moving so fast. So I'm going to have to think after this. I've got a list of things I've been writing down. Okay, I'm going to look at that, look at this, on what we can do to make this. Leland, thank you very much indeed for being my guest on the show today. I'll just finish by saying to everybody, thank you for joining. Hope you've all enjoyed that. Don't forget, I've got my Facebook group, eSpeaker Live, which has been set up purely to enable anyone who hasn't got much experience, or if you have got experience, just to it's a place where you can share your videos and share your live streams, get some comment, get some feedback, start meeting and becoming part of a community. And that's the whole idea, is just helping start creating a community of people who are interested in live streaming and wanting to help each other. And who knows where it'll go from there. So do come and join us there. Tomorrow I'm doing a real challenge because it's my first double-handed interview. I've got two people on. I've got Jackie Groundsell and Mel. Oh, forgotten who's also. Yes, Mel Sherwood, who's from the PSA, and they're both going to be joining me. And it's 5:30 tomorrow. So look forward to seeing you then. Thank you very much indeed. Take care.